Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen to the Seaford Town Council Golf and Review meeting of 30th of July 2024. We have no members of the public here, so I won't go through the chair's introduction. The meeting is being recorded. The fire exit's there. Where do we meet if there's a fire? And out the back by the post office if there's a meeting, if there's a fire for that's the assembly point. Walk, don't run. We have apologies for absence from Councillor Jeff Rutland. You all know me, but I am newly the chair of the Golf and Review Committee, so I run ting no run I, as they say. Apologies from Jeff Rutland. In accordance with the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and Localism Act 2011, I invite any member with an interest as defined under the Localism Act 2011 rather, to disclose it now. We have a fair number of, in numbers of items, we have a fair number of items to get through. Perhaps not every one of them will take an equal amount of time. But I would start by Fraser isn't here, so I would guess I would invite Louise to introduce the golf professionals update report. Or do we ask Simon's report first?
So I think what's happened is the numbers are, it's got, so they've got stapled back together. So here we go. So we can do the golf professionals.
Yeah.
Key points. We are plus 10 on the year for junior membership, which is really great. We need that membership figure to go. So we're up generally on our membership totals, which is good news for us. Given that the view has obviously changed ownership, then we did have a slight concern that would impact the golf members numbers, but it seems like it hasn't impacted them. And there's been an increase of society visits. We're up by almost 3,000 over last year at this point, which is also a really good sign. And it's quite helpful for us to see that, again, that the view going out, something we thought was high risk, so far hasn't impacted our income on the courses. We've got electric car points. There's a separate report on that, so we can come to that later. The digital flyover. So this is a to note report. What we've had is an approach from a company who do digital flyovers of the course and then sell it out. And we're thinking this is a great income earner for us, but we want to go off and research it. Councillor Sturton and Simon Lambert and I have had a conversation making sure we don't sign up too early to the wrong people and sign away our lives, and actually would be sensible to consider this. So we're actually taking a moment to look at the office here and what we'll be signing ourselves into, but it's an income earner from a very beautiful golf course, so that's exciting. There's other items on here, point 4.1, and that's about visitors and dog walkers. This item also appears on the Greens manager report. And I think at this point it's to note that we are looking at a 5-year marketing plan on what we might do to help with golf playing on what is a municipal course and open land. So that's to come, really. I think that's what I want to say on that.
So I would invite members who wish to comment on that to make their points. If I could just say first, this item of relations between golfers and members of the public, including dog walkers, is something that Simon mentions in his report too, and he mentions an intention to do some research and come up with proposals on the matter. So I would like to, in your comments, I would like anyone who has a view one way or the other about this to make this known, just so that we can take this away and reflect on that, whatever that might be. So full and frank discussion on this, I think, would be welcome at this early point. Councillor Walraven.
Yeah, with the digital flyover, have you investigated, it's probably early stages, but is there any other golf courses in the country gone down this road of digital flyovers?
So I'll give you a bit of a background as to what it is first. So there's a massive boom in golf simulator use. So what you can do is, and at our place as well, you can go into the pro shop and book a lesson or a playing time slot on a golf simulator. So then from that golf simulator you can pick various courses. So around here there's a number of them, East Sussex National and a few other locals. I've not used it so I can't list them all. But so you could, rather than travelling to that golf course or in the winter when it's wet, you could book and play around at the National but in the comfort of the studio where you're playing golf. But that facility also allows you to have lessons, so it videos your swing, can tell you whether you're hitting it left, hitting it right, landing in the rough, whether you're going too long, too short, and from that a coach can then advise you on how to play better. So that's where it's come about, and then from that there's now companies that create the golf courses for you. So this company here will do a flyover, and from that flyover they'll create a digital golf course that on a golf simulator someone could pick to play Seaford Head. So for example, Alan there could play, I need to practice the fourth hole, what am I doing wrong? He could then go into there and the golf professional could say you need to aim a bit more left, a bit more right, or whatever it might be. So that's where it's come about. So in answer to that, yes there is, and it's ever increasing as companies create more and more golf courses, but much like computer games, I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure there's a lot of time spent digitally creating, but the initial stage will be the flyover, get all the images, and we spoke about it earlier, what is really unusual for that is that we've got all the views. There's a lot of golf courses you could play a tree line course and you probably wouldn't know which one you're on. If they created this for us, people would know I'm not overlooking Seven Sisters, I'm on the 13th or 14th or overlooking Seaford Bay. And so in that sense, I think that's where the interest comes from for this company with us, because it's the views that generating a more interesting course and more interesting views rather than just the fairway and the green.
Yeah, so it's promoting the golf course.
Promotes golf course, yeah, definitely.
All over the world, I suppose.
Well, yeah, and as simple as we get a lot of visitors from other countries, China for example, and if they'd played on a golf simulator and they played Seaford Head when they visit, they're definitely going to want to come and see if they can shoot the same score that they can online. So.
Thank you.
Councillor Bristow.
Thank you for having me. I'm new to this committee as well. I was very lucky to gate crash the golf course tour last year, which I thoroughly enjoyed learning about, especially since my grandfather used to be a very keen member back in Tony Knowles' day. I'm really pleased to read all the fantastic things that are going on and things that are in the pipeline. And I thought I'd just mention, in relation to item 4, particularly 4.1, where it's talking about walkers and dog walkers and the golf course in general. I've been in touch with the local rep for our section of the Vanguard Way. This is through actually my district councillor role, and it slightly touches on my work role for the East Land Climate Action Project as well, but I thought it would be relevant to mention because they're looking at creating sort of shorter walking loops off the main Vanguard Way to try and help local people use the Vanguard Way, but also, do so in a sort of a manner in which they know where they're going and they can follow a route round. And so with that, there might be things to do with signage. And I thought I'd mention it now early on because I know they're talking about sort of all the section. So it might be that if you're talking about trying to get walkers to sort of stick to the paths and not go on fairways, there might be some scope there to kind of collaborate a bit on that. So I'd mention it as a bit of a lead. And yeah, I mean, I actually walk on the nature reserve section, usually every Sunday morning. I don't tend to go on the golf course, but I do sometimes go on the golf course at the top, sort of late at night on a weekday, not in the dark obviously. But just anecdotally, I've noticed, and I've got a dog myself, that the dog mess is just getting worse. The litter seems to be steadily worse wherever you are, whichever, thickets you're in, paths, everything. And I know we've got a programme to be replacing a lot of the dog bins throughout Seaford that the town council own, and I was just mentioning yesterday actually to the town clerk that perhaps we could combine that with a bit of a messaging and marketing sort of drive to try and raise the levels and expectations and sort of set the culture a bit. So yeah, anything I can do to help support that, and on the local nature reserve management committee as well, really happy to try and help.
Thank you, Councillor Bristol. I mean, if I might just add, I think you hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways. It's about setting culture and setting expectations, and I don't think it's the whole of the solution, but part of the solution is just making the area look cared for and cared about, so that the expectations that percolate to the people who might not do what they have to, but would go bow to a bit of moral suasion. And I think quite a good and very close by exemplar, partly out of their necessity, is Blackington Golf Club. Some of you might know I'm a runner, and my regular run takes me directly through the middle of East Blackington Golf Course, and they have to allow runners because it's a bridle day. I think, and if you look at the signage, I think there's one sign I really bristle at because I think it goes too far, but most of it is very helpful. It's not discouraging, it's encouraging, but asking you to sort of adhere to certain standards, sticking to marked paths and things like that. When you cross the fairway, there's a bell that you can ring to alert golfers, again, making it clear that you're allowed to do that, and we have to allow you to do that, so we couldn't be otherwise. But I think it is a good exemplar of how we can make people welcome, provided they adhere to certain standards. I think you also need some level of hard enforcement, and how we can get that on what we have to in terms of enforcement resources. About the pardon for not silencing my phone, but how we get that on, it's another conversation for another time. Councillor Walraven.
Can I just quickly come back? Can I be noted and thank Minitive, and to give thanks to Fraser on his 20 years service to our course.
Absolutely.
Good spot. Yeah, he was really disappointed not to be here tonight. I don't know whether he would have been wearing a badge telling everyone, but he couldn't be here, so.
I'm going to trump him, and I'm 24 and a half, so.
Are you?
I told him I was going to say it at a meeting, but he's not here, so maybe that's why he knew I was going to.
He's going to watch the recording.
Yeah.
Does this committee have any leverage or power or authority to arrange a card and a bottle of champagne or something? Probably not. Okay. Not even a card? Not even a note?
We could look at the cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Can I just say, about the dog bins. We talked to someone today up there who's got a dog, and he said the bins, a lot of bins are gone. So the reason that being was most of them, the dog walkers chuck their in the waste bin. Would it be better to have dog bins next to the waste bins so that the dog walk can put it in the dog bin and not the rubbish bin?
So the project that we're actually,
Yeah.
and you can lead us, that's exactly what we're going to be
Well,
doing.
I mean, that's what
It
I mean,
is.
basically, you can walk round the trees, Simon, so you can walk round the trees, and it's like Christmas decorations, where all they do is
Yeah.
like that, and you're all hanging up in the trees,
Disgusting.
in plastic bags.
So there's 3 of us more people
Can I
doing
jump in there because it's quite an important factor because they say on the golf course there's one public footpath that crosses the path, and also on the golf course we've got 4 dog waste bins at key entrance points. One of them being on the footpath, one of them being on the Vanguard's Way, one being up by the bar and one being somewhere else, and those bins need to be accessible for the van to empty them. And we've talked about the locations of where the new ones will be placed to make them more accessible to empty. The bins that you've mentioned are bins that we've put for golfers for bottles and drinks, and we don't have the facilities to deal with dog waste. So at some point there's certain key areas we've had to remove them because we were emptying 80% dog waste and 2 or 3 drinks bottles. So those are the ones we removed and strategically put where walkers don't go.
Councillor Crystal.
Can I just ask further to that, that's a really interesting point to note, because I have wondered about the slightly different bins that are up there. But my understanding of the forthcoming replacement bins for the town council is that because when LDC empty them nowadays, the dog waste and the general bins actually all goes to the same place. So they're all going to be dual purpose bins, although larger.
Yeah.
Do you guys, is it LDC who takes your waste, or have you got commercial?
No,
waste?
so the dog bins are LDC.
Yeah.
We've got our own litter bins on the tees
Okay. Yeah.
that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
empty
so-
with our own golf buggies or our vehicles.
Yeah.
We just take a bin back and
Yeah.
empty them.
I just
So
wonder
those-
whether maybe a bit of signage might help.
We're going to put no dog waste on those bins,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
because they're not accessible
Yeah.
for the dog waste is treated as hazardous waste,
Yeah.
and our bins aren't for that.
Yeah.
But we've reduced down to 4, I think now. There aren't even 4 on the course.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe it's something we can pick up in the future.
I think that's where leading into this whole conversation really, because we've got bins now that are highly or a long way away from where anyone has a right to walk and has a right to use for anything other than playing golf, because it's not common land, it's not open access land. But there needs to be that discussion and that view as to what is wanted from the site. We've increased the standard of the golf course over time, hopefully Alan agrees, and the majority of issues now are caused, or negative comments generally revolve around visiting golfers not expecting to bump into other users at certain places, because it's not generally what you find on golf courses. So it's a big discussion that's got to be had, and it obviously needs to be governed by what the site is what we want from the site.
It's on our work plan
Yeah.
to bring that to committee.
Yeah. One thing just to bear in mind for this, for a lot of people, it's very hard to educate this particular public precisely because it's literally people passing by. I mean, some people will be regular dog walkers, but a lot of them will be one-off, come here. But so in terms of educating people, there might the limit of what you can do is perhaps have a few signs, and I don't just mean the no dog waste in bins. I mean, have these by all means, but perhaps twice or three times throughout the length of the extent of the course, having where people can go, having a more educative sign. We ask you to, here's why you can't put dog waste in the litter bin, because it's not obvious. If you don't know about environmental standards, it's not obvious. So other ones could be, we welcome you to use this area but not that area, sort of thing, and educating people on good etiquette for encountering golfers. There might just be these points. I will come to you in a minute, Councillor Bristol. I know you're dying to get in here. But also, some of the behaviour that is coming out of these reports is not the sort of behaviour that's amenable to education. It's it's antisocial behaviour. Chucking a dog poo bag into a tree, that's not something that education works. We need to think, what resources do we have for a more robust approach? And it might be just as as the Golf in the View committee making it clear corporately that we respect the golf professional and the greenkeeper managers and the golf course members' right to politely but robustly point out when they see it that this is not acceptable conduct.
Oh yeah.
I'd love it if it was something more than that, but that might be it. Anyway, Councillor Bristol, and unless people have different points to make, this will be the last point I will take on this.
I wasn't offering.
You look like you are.
Sorry.
Okay. Can I invite us then, if there's no further comments, for us to move on to the course manager's update? Oh, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
This is the first meeting that I've chaired. Does anyone wish to propose a motion to note, to note and approve? It's note and approve, isn't it? To note. No, it's to note.
Chair,
To note.
I'll propose that we have the report.
Thank you, Councillor Wally. And would anyone second it? Councillor Bristol got there first.
Yes.
All in favour? That seems unanimous to me. Okay, we go to the course manager's update report, and I would invite Simon Lambert, head greenkeeper, to speak on this matter.
Good evening, everyone. Spoken again. We covered a lot of points that we're going to be touched on in mine. Probably more generic about our maintenance at the moment. You've been gone really well. Huge amount of growth on the grass. Joanne lost a few balls in the rough, and along with any other golfers, but it's been the same throughout the town. It's been evident that grass is growing like mad this year. We've tried to stay on top of it best we can, and I think we're winning. We're moving into a drier period now, so things should steady down a little bit. Machinery was all worked really well. All the maintenance through the winter and into the spring went well, so they're all running good. Little update on the machinery that we ordered. We've now got delivery date of the beginning of September for the 2 bits of kit, the 3 bits of kit that we ordered. So we're just looking at the final lease quotes now to pick the supplier of the finance lease that we're going to use. We have a company called Link Asset that look into this for us. They work for councils, and they find us the best deals, do a report, offer us the best free, and from that we can take the best one to go with. Obviously normally the cheapest. So that it's good that they're, after giving quotes of 18 months for orders, time's gone down a little bit, which is good news. The 17th and 18th degree project's a big part of it, the report, but there's a whole section on that, so I'll leave that to them. And I'd welcome any questions and there are other updates other than
Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. I presume I'm bit confused by the number again. I think I'm okay.
You're not, yeah, it's 5, agenda item number 5.
Okay, I think so 1.19 talks about South East Water taking samples of the borehole.
Yes.
I'd be very interested to keep up with that because we have some ideas of having borehole on the south of Bath.
Yeah.
So I don't know when the results are going to come back.
Well, I'll give you an update on that. They lost the samples, so they're going to come back and take some more.
Oh, really?
They wanted to about 3 weeks ago, but we weren't irrigating, so there was no point. We've only started. Sunday night was the first time we irrigated in about 3 weeks, so the tank's now refilling as we speak. So I emailed him today, and it's going to probably be early next week. They're going to come and take a new sample, and they took about 5 days to get the results. And when he sends it back, he's going to send some comparisons to their sources they use for drinking water around here as well, and just give me an idea of.
Does that go to the officers? Does that information go to the officers?
It can, it goes to me at the moment. That's who he's in contact with, but I can share that.
Might be handy if you
Yeah,
have that.
just send it straight
Yeah.
to, yeah.
I'll send it straight to me. Councillor.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Yes. So are they only going to take one sample or are they taking multiple samples?
They want to take it multiple, was their intention. They've taken one and lost it so far.
It still counts as one. That's like a shot on goal and then what happened?
Exactly, yeah. They're looking to build an overall picture of us in the wider area, Littlington, the North Seaford, the whole of the South Downs basically. Part of their project to identify improvements in what they do as a company. So we are the most coastally borehole that they have access to, so they're keen to see what the water quality is like. They've had one sample, or they've had one report done when we first had the borehole done, and they already identified that it would be no good for drinking water. The salinity was too high, and it's outside their parameters, but they were really pleased with the low nitrate levels, which reflects the low impact maintenance we're doing in terms of using organic fertilisers rather than synthetics and stuff like that. So we're pleased in that sense. But the new one that they do will be up-to-date, accurate to 24.
Okay, thank you. Please, if you could send me that one.
Councillor Lowry then.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. First of all, congratulate you and your team on how the course looks and plays. I get a feedback from friends who play on the course and say it's always in good condition and plays really well. And also part of your how you manage the course has also come out in the report on 1.19 with low readings of the nitrates.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing up there, you're doing
Yeah,
all
no, they were
right.
surprised actually. In the email that he replied with me, he said they a lot lower than they would expect of London. I think that's based on their samples they take in north of Seaford, and heavily farmland is going to be a lot more input going in. We work with the grass we've already got intensely. Many farms are always removing and replacing, so inevitably it's going to be higher. But yeah, it's nice to know they're doing the right thing.
I can, before I take your Councillor Buchanan, I'll just observe, I can only imagine, without necessarily being an expert in these things, I can only imagine that Seaford Head Golf Club is so much of a leader in the field in environmental matters, and I do encourage you to take opportunities to be a beacon in that regard. You know, if there's opportunities to write in the professional press about what you're doing and things like that, and these are things would be well worth exploring. Councillor Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just another quickie. Item 120. high powered roof in was initially about the safety aspects of accessing the roof.
Yeah.
I remember rightly, you couldn't get onto the roof before. Have you built a new, you're going to build a new
We haven't,
access?
but I, further into the report, not within my section, I believe there's an update on that. Because I haven't.
I didn't see anything that just says your report rating. But anyway, we'll come to that.
Not from me, the report, it's in another report.
No, it's in mine.
Oh, your one, okay.
Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. I'll also pick up on the roof when it comes up. But going to 1.12 on page 7, I'm just curious to know whether you guys hiring in cut and collect machines or cut and bale machines, is that something you periodically do from time to time, or would that be a new entity?
We have done it, and it's extremely costly.
Yeah.
Balancing that cost and gains
Yeah.
are something that's really difficult with the budget and all work within.
Is the cost mainly, sorry if I may, is the cost mainly to do with the hire of the machine, or is it the
Disposal.
disposal of the device?
Disposal is
Is it?
by far the biggest
Okay.
cost. I'll give you an example. We cut and baled south end corner of the field that we've created wildflower
Yeah.
meadow areas. The man to come and do it with his machine and bale up was about 600 quid. We got 23 bales. No farmer in southeast England were interested in the bales because they were classed as hazardous waste because of the ragwort. They weren't treated for weeds and they had dog medicine. And we were quoted about £212 per bale to dispose. Because that was 5 years ago, that was the cost to dispose of a tonne. And each bale of wet grass was a tonne to dispose of.
Okay. That's really
So-
interesting. The angle I'm coming from, in case you're wondering, is because within our Community Services and Climate Change Committees, we've, as you probably know, taken on the urban grass cutting, and we're looking at how viable cut and collect may be and in what sort of shape or form. So it's really useful to get your feedback, and if you don't mind, I might end up emailing you after this.
Yeah, no, that's no
Thank
problem.
you.
It was the biggest hurdle we found. I know Sussex Wildlife Trust cut and collect and designate an area to dump all their grass.
Yeah,
I don't have a site on the golf course I would want to do that on,
yeah.
and I don't agree with destroying's a harsh word. I don't agree with smothering another area to achieve something somewhere else. I think there's got to be a balance. And there's, over the whole golf course site, there's a huge balance in what we mow and cut and collect, what we fertilise, what we don't fertilise, what we leave as rough, what we don't leave as rough. And in my mind, well, my view for the golf course and the field is a balance. Because I balance the people who want wildflowers that want it stripped and cut and baled all the time. But then you've got people who love invertebrates and that doesn't suit them. You've got other people that want loads of trees, which doesn't mirror with having a fallow meadow. Then you've got people who want to play football. And in terms of the use of the golf course, we stopped a 6-a-side match on the 6th fairway the other evening, 12 people, and we asked them, and they were really polite. We were expecting to either run away or get abused, but they were nice, and they said, we know, but we can't go anywhere else. They used to use the Midfield field, but they said it's now a meadow.
Yeah.
They used to use Martello Fields, it's now a meadow. Crouch don't want people playing on the football pitch, and the Salts is farther away from where they want to be. So it's created other problems. We're the only nicely grown grass now. So that's where it's a bigger picture of the use of the land.
Very interesting.
Could I invite Louise Lawrence to speak?
Just to say, Christine, that Simon will now be joining the grass meetings going forward because his expertise. I feel a bit cross with myself for not putting those two together. So Simon's now invited to all of the grass contract meetings and the grass maintenance meetings to share his learning.
That sounds really positive. Thank you.
speaking of kind of pooling resources in that sense, thinking outside the box a bit, is there a possibility of buying a baler if the costs were shared, not just with the golf course, but with the various facilities that might have called to do that?
Yeah, but as we mentioned, this disposal is
Yeah.
the biggest cost.
And I guess my other question is going to be, would Seaford Town Council have facilities for composting, shredding and composting or mulching? Because that might be it's more valuable use than, or a less hazardous use than fodder.
Yeah, I guess it depends if the councillors put aside a parcel of land to compost it on.
Does that land not exist? Maybe not at town level. Councillor Bristow.
I was just going to say that I think there were some early stage ideas in other arenas, which is great that now we can link our greenkeeper in, but maybe that's not for this committee at the moment. I don't know. Sorry, Councillor Sturton. I didn't want to sort of take over by it's very early stage, and just to say that there are some things and some discussions with other groups.
I think in terms of virtues, you need a cut and collect rather than a baler. You wouldn't be able to cut and retain it whilst where it is to bale it. You need a machine that did it all in one go.
When I was a student, I paid for my studies by working on a farm near Stirling that made its money growing and harvesting Timothy hay, and my job was to stack bales into stacks of 20, and I did that all day and all night, and by the end of it I was really fit. But
So you're volunteering your services?
if it's only 20 bales, that's one stack. No worries. We just about manage that. But I mean, I welcome the fact that clearly there's ideas germinating, and I look forward to seeing how those discussions progress. Now, unless there are any points that are different from the ones discussed, I'm going to call the vote to note this report and move on to the next. Does anyone want to propose to note the Golf Manager's update report? Councillor Walraven again, and Councillor Buchanan. All in favour? That is unanimous. I'm never very sure whether as chair I have a vote.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Well, and I have to as well. So the next matter which Louise Lawrence will speak to is the view update report.
Yeah, page 16, everyone. So I know we've got 2 6s, so we'll call out the new number as we go. So this is
Excuse me.
a short report. It's in 2 parts. We've had a very long handover period with the view in terms of maintenance and getting it into a position where we feel this is how we'd like it handed back to us. With the contracts we obviously have to put or to keep. So we're just finishing on over that handover and fixing all the bits and pieces that need looking at, which has put us over budget on financial implications related to that. But I also want to talk about the building update. And what's happened is that the view has been a building that we perhaps haven't paid as much attention to as we should have. And so some of the things that we're doing for the view handover should have been done anyway. And then in terms of the external for the building update, point 3, this is where we talk about the fact that we couldn't get onto the roof because there was no safety equipment. We've now paid a company to come and inspect and sort out the roof safety system, and that will be regularly serviced. So we've gone into a service contract. So that's got some cost. With the roof, previous to that, nobody's been up and it hasn't been maintained. So We're going to now be getting up an expert to have a look at that glass roof and advise us as what the next steps might be. So there are financial implications, and as I say, the handover review has exceeded its budget, and obviously we've got into this contract for the next few years to maintain that roof. There will be more costs on review without a doubt as we start identifying issues with the roof and sort out some of the internal things that are happening, like the windows and the outside drainage as we go forward. But at the moment, this is all we're bringing to you, and we'll keep you updated as we go.
Okay, comments? Councillor Buchanan?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that. Just a quick one. So what is it on the access? You can actually climb up there?
Yes.
Can I go up there?
No.
That would be highly injudicious, Councillor
Yeah.
Buchanan.
Well, should we take this offline?
Sure. I mean, I'd sign a waiver.
Let's take it offline.
Okay, and one other thought. If you can get access to the roof, does that mean you can finally make the solar heating panels work?
So in theory, yes, and we've paid to have the heating boiler system set up, so that's working. So in theory, we're just down to the last few tweaks to get that all working. As I understand it, it's never worked. So the boiler's been serviced, we've already paid for that as part of the handover. That will reduce the cost both for the shower cubicles, which we offer, and as well it'll be a benefit for the view, but it is green energy, so we should be looking for that anyway.
So it is.
I looked into thermal solar for my house. I understand the savings are fairly modest compared to other kinds of green. Councillor Bristol.
Can I just inquire, obviously I'm coming into this committee new at the moment, so forgive me if this has already been covered, but perhaps someone could illuminate for me. The green roof, I remember sort of when we went to look round, it sort of said that it was said that it was kind of a bit mothballed, shall I say. Was it ever looked at that point whether to keep it as a green roof or whether to look at solar photovoltaics specifically? Was there sort of an option to be done at that point?
Yeah, so part of the planning for the building was to have the green roof. That was stipulated by South Thames National Park, and they designed the seeding plan that it had to have. So the plants are up there are all native.
Visual, was it?
The other issue is the plants, the soil, all provide a level of insulation. So that roof was designed with that in mind. So it would be a planning application in the first instance to change that roof and then look at where else.
Yeah, thank you. That's good to know this background, but thanks.
Invite anyone else to make any observations they have. Otherwise, I will ask us to note. Does anyone else want to comment?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed that around the sides there's been planks of wood hanging off the roof of yonks. I can't understand why someone opened up with a hammer and now just...
Because they've not been able to access the roof, because they haven't been able to access because it hasn't been safe. And now it's time to
yeah, it's not on the side, it's on this woodland side. And that's been like for building. I'm surprised the building's still standing actually, it's still there.
If there are problems, even minor ones, can I recommend that people don't just go up there with a hammer again? All in favour of Councillor Bristol proposes to not the report? Who would second? Councillor Buchanan. All in favour? So now we look at the money stuff, golf in the view income and expenditure 2023 to 24 year end, and the page number of that report is 19.
Yeah, so it's agenda item number 7, not 6, just for clarity. So,
Yes, I invite Louise Lawrence to speak to this matter.
okay, so the golf course is up on budget and down on expenditure, which is great news. And the view at its sort of cost centre point was also up in budget and down on expenditure. So the overall position of the golf in the view is better than we had forecast it might be. There is a detailed summary that Lucy has done on page 26 through to page 30, which actually gives you a variance report. So is there anything particular that's varied, you can check.
Yeah, that is very helpful. Does anyone wish to speak on this matter? In that case, I would just like to congratulate all concerned for what is clearly turning around quite a difficult situation in some respects, with respect to the view, but also the continued steady growth on the golf side of things. On the view side, to some extent, these figures, there's a bit of apples and oranges comparison going on, as you will be aware, because we took the decision to put the view out as a concession. Now, the numbers from the concession just fall into the end of this period, and so really we speak of an improved position, and no doubt it is an improved position in the income side of things, but it's just difficult to get a good measure of it. I mean, I have no reason to see that calls into question the overall sense of things, but if anyone wishes to ask about that, I'm sure Louise will be more than happy to answer any questions. Or but I'm getting the sense that people are quite happy with this, or maybe they just don't like numbers. But either way, I will call on a proposer to note the contents of the report.
Go on then.
Fight over it.
No,
Councillor Bristol, I would invite Councillor Walraven to second it, since you are almost as keen as Councillor Bristol in this matter. All in favour? Right. What? I'm all right for time, but if anyone else would be more comfortable.
For the night.
Not quite, Councillor Buchanan, because previously we've only noted matters, it is nearly time to take some decisions, and you need your best thinking hats on for that. So I move to what in the agenda is item 8 on page 31 of your packs. Seaford Head Golf Club 17th Green 18th Tees redesign.
And it says item number 7, it's actually item number 8, just so we're all on page 31.
And we note that although the author is noted as Louise Lawrence, this is a joint effort by at least Louise and Simon, so we acknowledge his contribution to this report. Just to make clear what we're about to be asked to do is to note the contents of the report, but secondly, to approve the initial redesign plan and to approve that this is presented to the public and stakeholders for review and feedback. So that's the decision we're taking. If we're not happy to let that go forward as is, we would reject this, but I'm not anticipating that will happen. And the next steps. Am I inviting Louise to speak to our Simon? Simon,
I will speak again.
It's his baby.
It's all right. Yeah, so shall I start from the start?
Yeah.
So, the 17th Green, 18th Tee are one day going to be the first ones in the sea. Between them and the cliff edge is a Van Gogh's Bay. So the decision was taken probably 3-4 years ago to begin looking at what we can do about it. The last financial year, 23-24, there was a little bit of money put in there to engage with an architect to see what we could do on the site. What we have, we found a very nice architect with a huge amount of experience that also happened to grow up in Seaford and loved Seaford Head. So I initiated a discussion with him on LinkedIn and invited him to come and have a look for old time's sake, and managed to talk him into producing a design at probably 10% of what most people would have charged. And that's what we presented today. So that was in the budget 23-24. When budget was set in last year, it was decided to put an amount of money in to progress that to a point where we can present to all stakeholders, be it the golf club, the committee, the South Downs National Park, the Natural England, Historic England, anyone else that wants to look at what we're proposing to do, to gain feedback and to either progress the design to a point where costings can be made and time frames, or if we need to go back to the drawing board and ask our nice architect to change a few things here, change a few things there, to produce something that fits the golf, fits the surroundings, fits the archaeological areas and the nature. So what we have done is produce this plan with some lovely pictures and a good description of what we feel is the best option moving forwards. So we're asking basically I believe it's £20,000 in the financial year for the 24-25. We're saying, can we spend some of that money to progress this to a point where we can say, these are the permissions that we need, these are the agreements we have, this is how much it's going to cost. But to move to that point, we're going to need to engage with a few more people to be able to provide an accurate cost, an accurate idea of are we allowed to be allowed to do what we want to do. So that's what we're.
Yes, please do.
So we propose that you as characters come in and do a walk around with us so you understand the impact. I've already done a walk around, it's absolutely fascinating. There's an Iron Age fort underneath as well. What someone doesn't know about it isn't worth knowing.
We did do the tour, didn't we? We did.
This is more with the lens of actually looking at this plan is excellent, but it's much more helpful being there, because then you get to understand what it is that we're doing, and it's significant movement. The other thing I just want to highlight is that once we've done the consultation and we have a plan layout, we would bring it back to committee for you to approve before we go to the next stage, which would be tender. So this bit is the exploratory, if you like, the conversations, the opening up the discussions. There's lots of agendas out there, so this may take us, I don't think we'll come back to you in December. I think it depends what Simon does, but I think it's more likely we'll come back to you next year with a proposal for you to consider, and it may be you want to go out again and have a look at the space. It is a significant expenditure. We've got some ideas about maybe involving TV in this fascinating project, and that might generate some income, filming income, but we first want to be sure that how difficult is this going to be. I mean, we have a choice about how difficult this is going to be.
picking up on something you just said, before we are invited to go to tender, would it be possible to arrange for the committee to have as part of its duties to actually see the site and talk through the proposal?
So it's up to you. You can either do it now, I mean you can do it both times you like, but my thought was you might want to do it now before we start so you know the key areas. You could do it a second time before it comes to committee if you want to, with the proposal to understand what's being suggested, or you might want to not come again and just take the proposals going forward. It's absolutely up to you and how you want to do it. If it doesn't come till next year and it's summer, then it seems sensible to go and visit again maybe with those discussions.
I mean, what are the implications? I mean, to visit the site before we approve this could involve delays, so we would want to know what would be the implications of taking that decision before we.
So I'm not suggesting you delay this decision for us to proceed, because we're not doing anything at this point. The action happens once we've got a report and we've engaged with all the partners, and that's the point where I think it'd be helpful for you to come and see what the implications are. It's going to affect our golf income, because we'll have to relay out the course for a time while that work's carried on. And it's also obviously going to change how that space is used. So before the report comes to you, my suggestion is that you come and visit. But equally you can come out now if you want to.
I mean, that sounds like two excellent options to consider. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Chair. I was really excited about this project. I remember when we went round the visit last year and just hearing about it in the early stages. Very necessary. A lot of constraints to work with, but a lot of interesting things to balance, and hopefully it looks so promising that we'll get a really good outcome. Just picking up on the discussion that has just been started, I would really value refreshing my memory. I mean, I think I can remember what we spoke about in the site visit last year, but I think particularly anything where we've got a consultation and an element of public consultation where we as councillors might be getting queries and questions, even though we will obviously encourage anyone to respond officially. It'd just be good for us to sort of gen up on exactly what the proposals are. So I, for one, would be very happy to do a site visit soon, and then if necessary one later on as well, if we've got the time to do that, that would be brilliant. I was going to pick up on the consultation aspect, which anyone who knows me, it's one of my things, having worked in that kind of arena before. What do you envisage, sort of 4.5, we've got stakeholder consultation, I'm sure that's something that's kind of already ongoing there, because it's apart from just the actual physical moving of the tee, as you've detailed in the report, you've got the environmental aspects, the Vanguard Way, the King Charles III Coastal Park, and everything in between, all the historic stuff. But so particularly around the public consultation side, are you envisaging some actual public sort of events at the View or in town, or maybe a little video to sort of showcase what the plans are, or something like that, or do you have anything in mind at the moment?
You could use the digital survey.
Yeah, I mean, when it talks about public, obviously a big part of that public will be golfers, because the only true impact is going to be to the golf course. Vanguard's Way will naturally find its new line further away from the edge, I'm guessing, in future. But there'll be no other disruption other than that for public. In terms of...
So it's really just about the golf.
In terms of the plans for the whole, or presentation to the golf. But in terms of public outside of the golf course.
We probably will do a QR code and just let the public know and ask for any views, so that they know what's going on. They're going to ask the questions anyway, and it's not very helpful for the traffic if actually we let them know and ask them for thoughts.
I think it's important to consider at this point that, and this isn't my sales pitch, but the budget was already approved for this work, but in terms of what we're proposing, the National Park, the heritage people, or Natural England could completely change this design. So presenting this design with a thought of approving it in for you at the moment is not what we're asking. We're asking to ask the right people that can approve this or not.
Yes.
Because we've come up with a plan for the golf, and the guy we used his expertise are managing all those important areas, and he's had a lot of experience in doing it, but Historic England might just go no, or Natural England might go, you can't dig that. And this work here would be ripped up and start again, and we don't know that, which is so our next step, which we need to do is to ask the people that can put a stop to this now and say, are we looking in the right area, or do we really need to rethink it?
Can I put back on that?
Of course, Councillor Brewster.
Yeah, thank you. So it sounds like you're very much taking a phased approach then, so to do the feasibility on it first and then scope it further with golf members and any others.
We were in a tricky point at the start of this project, because to go to Natural England and Historic England and South National Parks, so we want to do this, they're going to say, well, what do you want to do? So it was finding that balance of, this was the cheapest and most detailed plan we could get without having the specifics. So when they say, what do you want to do? We can say, well, this is what we want to do. And the drawings are all to scale, and all the topographic lines are all in the right places. We've got it on a proper PDF file that they can put it on their maps and overlay it and make those sort of decisions.
I mean, if I wonder if I might make a point about consultation, it's not a comment on the proposals themselves, which I think are excellent, but perhaps to connect the discussion here with an issue that has come up earlier this evening, which is the relationship between golfers and other users of the area. A consultation on the redesign of the 17th and 18th holes are a wonderful opportunity to engage with the wider community, to get the message out of the importance of golf to Seaford and as part of the, and Seaford Head Golf Club as one of the assets of Seaford Town Council, and just to make that message, and the quality of the consultation will impart, and the quality of the responses you get in there, just the engage, not just the responses and comments, but just the interest of the community is going to depend on the quality of the consultation material you put out. So to do something that's really engaging, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, not that they're immediately connected, but talking about the flyover. I mean, to make I don't know, as part of the consultation, a YouTube video with flyover and maybe some narration and explaining why, connect it with some of the issues related to coastal erosion, even environment and climate change, such that they are relevant. History would be a wonderful way of just getting out a message that we're trying to get out anyway. Any further comments? Councillor Walraven.
Thank you, Chair. I found it very interesting reading, and there's more to moving tea and whatever, you know, sort of non-public realise. But I just wondered if there any chance of trying to get any funding.
Sorry, ask
I'm
again.
wondering if there's any chance of getting funding like we did with the tennis courts.
So funding will be one of the stages. When we come with the costing, we're also going to have to look at how can we attract money, which is why I think about filming, I was thinking about support from, say, Natural England South Downs National Park. I mean, they might have some caveats tied with that. One of the things that Moving These Golf Tees does do is create more scrubland for the Trip SI site. So that's a better position to be in. We're hoping that's looked on favourably. So what we need to do is, with this engagement, is very much talk about the money alongside with do like this, and we actually need to do it going forward. And I think this links in beautifully with the idea of getting a bidding officer, which we've talked about before. There's lots of projects we've got coming forward. The way the government works now is that you have to prove that you're right for that money rather than sort of randomly handing out the money. So this would be another way that we might look at how we can engage with bids. It's a municipal golf course, and so there's not many of those, so lots of opportunities, but none of that work's been done yet. And that's part of what needs to come back to you to say realistically, I mean, this might be as much as 100,000 to do this work, so how are we going to fund that?
Thank you. Another question is, how long do you think it'd be before we have to move the tees again with the clippage
So
erosion?
with the plan that we've made,
Yeah, with a hypothetical questions.
yeah, so we have brought ourselves more time than other greens on the course have.
Yeah,
But looking at it another way, it could be gone tomorrow.
yeah.
In realistic terms, we've made our best judgment on cutting a corner away, basically. So that's when you look at Seaford and we look at where the 17th and the 18th tee are, they're on a corner. We've removed them from that corner and brought, it's probably on the plan, a certain number of metres we're by ourselves more. Anyone here will see, and longer than that. But what with coastal erosion, they're where the green is at the moment. It's at the highest level of erosion with the plans that Archaeological South East did. They compared 3 different time frames of where the cliff were, and 17th green is at the point where the most amount have been lost. But moving it back and across has brought it into an area that has lost less. The decision was made to move the 18th tee at the same time for that exact reason, because we would have been looking at a stoop. The 18th tee would have then been the next problem area, so moving them together is logical, and you've taken away that need.
Is the overall footprint of the golf course therefore smaller?
Yeah.
And how does that impact the golf experience?
So
I mean, obviously playing into the sea is a much more experience
so
either, so I guess it might be necessary.
the design takes away some distance on the 17th hole, but it also takes away the opportunity to reach that green where some long hitters may reach, but some long hitters can reach out. I'm sure Alan can reach it, but you can reach 17th green now.
Oh yeah.
But with position of the bunker and position of the green, the way you play golf, there's a risk or reward. So that's been taken into account to make sure the golf game is still enjoyable. But on the plus side, outside of golf, we've given back more land to the Trip SI site than we're taking away from moving the green, and giving back more chalk grassland and taking away overgrown scrub with little or no benefit. It's one of the reasons we created the extra rides through the scrub as well, to try and provide some extra evidence that we've considered all these and are looking to, as a site as a whole, not just we need a new green.
Any other comments, or are we ready to move to a vote? And do we take these all together or one at a time? Louise, what would you recommend here?
So you can take them separately.
Okay, so does anyone wish to propose to note the contents of this report? Councillor Buchanan. Does anyone wish to second? Councillor Shah. Ali. All in favour? Okay, so we move to the second item, which is to approve the initial redesign plan. So that is a decision to approve, and that it will be presented to the public and stakeholders for review and feedback. Councillor Walraven wishes to propose. Does anyone wish to second? Councillor Bristol, all in favour? Okay, so that's a big decision. So can we note the next steps to be taken as per item 3? Anyone can propose? Councillor Walraven, and seconded by Councillor Buchanan. All in favour? Excellent. Now, I know there's only 2 more items on the agenda. I do think we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I'm a great believer that a break doesn't have to be long to be effective. So I propose only a 5-minute break. Can we agree? Only one more?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I do recognise that brain fatigue is a real thing. Would people prefer just to push on? Is that the general mood of the meeting? I mean, I see too, is item 10, Seaford Head Golf Club update, standard agenda item.
That's Alan.
Yeah.
Did you want, because I asked at the beginning, did you want to give an update at the end of this?
No, not really. I mean, it's basics what it is, isn't it, really? So, hopefully it will all get fixed eventually.
Okay. In that case, sensing the mood of the meeting, I am going to press on, and if we all make terrible decisions now, I'm not taking responsibility for that. Item 9, electrical vehicle charging points. And that is going to be taken by Louise Lawrence, I believe.
Yeah. So we've sort of dallianced with EV charging, and what we've decided is to bring it back and say to you, we would like to consider looking at and researching EV charging in the car park at the View. The example attached. Is there an example attached? We looked at an example looking at 8 charging points, which was suggested by the golf body. I think our feeling is that we would want to do a little bit more research. We talked about not giving up 8 sections, which I think financially is how they make their money, and we might want to do 4. There's other groups out there, and with the change at the moment of EV charging, it's changing quite rapidly. We're reluctant to rush into this, but we would like to get, as option 2 says, to agree in principle with the concept, installing the EV chargers, and we could go off and do some research. It does bring an income for us, so it does make sense to consider it, but I think we need to be quite careful.
I mean, I think that's sage advice, but I would at this point invite comments from councillors. Councillor Buchanan.
With what you've said now, Bruce, I mean, this is really going to the next step to study it a little bit more, isn't it? So I would agree with that. And then One thing I would be interested to know as part of that is how much it would cost to charge. As part, because this would be subcontracted to another dedicated company, and you would maybe dispose of the land of these guys for developments.
So it seems to be, I mean, so far from what I've looked at is variable, but basically what they do is they tie you into quite a long-term agreement, and you earn a portion of the charging that happens at the site. So it's installed at no cost to you, and then you earn a portion. Personally, I did have a quick read through of the one that we've had a look at. I was unimpressed with the proportions, and I feel that we might do a little better. I don't know if anything you want to say on the charging.
No, I'll drive a 3-litre diesel so. No, I don't know enough about it to have any input in it.
So,
I will just add a couple of things if I might, and it's kind of stating the obvious, so I'm sure people realise this. Firstly, we are as a country committed to phasing out petrol only and diesel only vehicle construction by 2035. That's only 11 years away. So if we're talking about, we're talking about a 7-year agreement, when that agreement's up, we'll only be 4 years away, or perhaps only 3 years away, depending on the sort of time scale it takes to decision to install. The other thing to note, I think, is these projects inevitably have to be long term. 7 years seems quite a lot, but the upfront cost of installing the EV equipment is quite substantial, and they will expect to, do well about it. And this may not be the best deal, but whatever is the best deal, we'll be expecting to make back a proportion of our big investment plus a little bit of profit on top of that every year. So that's why it has to be long term, but not too long term. So having a sense of what is the sort of recovery period of that kind of investment is something that would be useful to know. Having got that off the chest, I would invite comments from Councillor Buchanan first and then Councillor Bristow, because that's the order in which I saw hands going up.
It's just dark over there.
Light travels quite fast.
Thank you. If you're looking at something like 8 charging points, and you have more than just the 3 kilowatt charging that goes with my hybrid, you might have 8 or 10 kilowatts per car. We're going to have a look at it seriously at power supply that exists in the field. It's going to come from the golf club. And that would be part, clearly, of the next.
And that's presumably a problem for the installers, though, to do the engineering of it.
I think we'd have, before we brought something back saying where we were landing, we would expect them to have done their due diligence and checked that this was even possible.
Councillor, sorry.
Just to add, I think, well, I wouldn't use it at the moment. Golf is a good place to have them, and there is other golf clubs that have already invested in this, because people spend a lot of time at golf club, definitely long enough to charge a vehicle up fully. So in terms of encouraging customers, it may well help slightly, but definitely, I could definitely see it being used at the golf club.
Would it, sorry, I'll let Councillor Bristol. Is there a potential problem arising with car park capacity? Because if this is a good deal, you might have members of the public just driving up, parking there, and leaving their car there for half a day to charge. Are we concerned about that?
We only in the sense that what was mentioned earlier, the number of spaces, 8 in one of the proposals, was a concern. Generally, golf will be there a lot earlier than members of the public.
Yeah.
So although there could be a factor of that, we have ample parking generally to accommodate that.
Yeah, I am less concerned about the number being 8 than some people are, and I just throw that out there as a point for discussion. I mean, my point is 8 sounds like an awful lot now, but will 8 be an awful lot in 2031? Is my question.
Presumably you can have.
So that's my approach. I would want to go at this iteratively. Having looked at other hotels who've gone early, they now have 3 different sites, supplier sites, where they sort of, joined with one provider, they've moved on and they've moved on. So I'm keen that we don't rush into this. And I'm on your point about it being a great deal. I don't know what price they're going to sell the electricity. We won't be involved in that. So that's the other thing I want to look at. It's absolutely no point if our golfers are being rinsed by the charge that they're experiencing. We want that charge to be fair and proper. So that's another thing that I want to be certain about.
I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, much as we like the money-making aspect of this, we are approaching it as a service to members,
Yes.
and we need to bear that in mind. Councillor Bristol, I've abused my chair's authority too much and
Not
kept
at
decanting
all.
at the bit.
Not
Would you
at
please
all.
make your points?
It's good because I probably won't speak quite as long as I might otherwise to the relief of everybody. So I am by no means an expert in EV charging, especially now. I'm a bit out of date, but about 10 years ago, I was involved in creating an EV charging strategy for the Orkney Islands in a previous job. And I think some of the kind of principles that we were looking at and the behaviours and the changes and the kind of questions was up there as a very sort of pioneering island system where a lot of technologies were coming out, as first movers and so on and so forth, sort of filtered down here. So these kind of should we, shouldn't we, how many, will it get used, and all that kind of stuff's really interesting. And something that I would really strongly suggest is that we ask the golf users, and also I'm wondering about the view users. Obviously there's quite a crossover. It sounds good that the golfers seem to be using the cafe. But there will be some people who just come up to the cafe and don't do golf. So I wonder whether you might just have an open sort of suggestions box, QR code saying, we're thinking about EV chargers. Have you travelled here in an EV today? Would you charge here if it was offered? Where do you normally charge? And that kind of thing. Know your market. Know your kind of captive market first. Obviously things are changing and we've got targets and the uptake, although it's slowed quite a bit now. You've got that dynamic background thing going on, but yeah, I would definitely say engage with your customers as early as possible, see what's going on. LDC, as I know, Town Council, we're looking at EV charge points in other places of the town, and these are kind of parks that, because LDC were then put EV charge points in at least 3, if not 4, of the municipal car parks, which have taken quite a while to come into effect, but they are in effect now. So it might be worth contacting LDC, and I'll probably be contacting them, I don't sure we do, just to find out how it's gone with them, think about pricing, usage, what data have they got, how does it fit into the kind of ecosystem, what apps do they use, which the customers coming up to the view want to use similar compatible apps, or is it better to have something that provides a different product to the market? All these things. And then also from an STC perspective, one of the things that I've kind of had in my head about the seafront, and again it'll depend on the supply that we've got, not just at the golf club but along the seafront. I know parts of it are electrified and parts of it aren't, whether there are connection opportunities. But could we have some EV parking spaces actually along the seafront? Is that something we might do off a sort of similar branch at a similar time? Any sort of economy of scale might also help with some of the parking issues that we've got down there. And there's a lot of sitting in petrol and diesel cars as well. Just might help with that side of things as well. So I'm just trying to sort of think outside the box a bit and think about the bigger picture. What's going on, and also if there's any data you've got for golfers, you said tend to arrive early and presumably stay several hours. But you know, are there people who are sort of nipping up there, maybe using the cafe, who want a particularly rapid charge, and the siting of the, you know, talking about how many spaces and the siting of them. I'm aware that there are some bike stands, but they're kind of a little bit hidden and obscured at the moment, from what I gather. We're just talking about cycle parking. But electric bike parking is something that's up and coming. Like Sustrans have got a national sort of pilot network going for that, and that might be something which perhaps less so the golfers, unless they have cargo bikes, because I'm guessing the golfers, I mean, you normally see them unloading, you know, all their clubs and that, so they're probably not like I used to go around the hockey stick on a bike. But you might get, you know, people using the cafe who want to come up, park their e-bike. And again, that might, excuse the pun, plug into what eventually happens at Seaford Barn, e-bike charging. So I'm just thinking in terms of physical space, like sort of encouraged to think about the site as a whole and sort of low carbon travel, both in terms of EVs and active travel and stuff. Because you don't want to sort of stick loads of EV charging points and then a year or two later go, oh, wish we'd left one of those free for something else or something. So yeah, but otherwise I'm completely in support of investigating it and seeing what can happen, and if it helps the golfers, you know, to have a good enjoyable day out and it brings customers and they can charge their car and generate a bit of income at the same time, then fantastic. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Councillor Bristol. It's very informative. Hi, Councillor Buchanan. I did see you in fact. Thank you, Louise, for keeping me right. My wife will say I always need to be right, so.
I'm sure I saw an advert on the television this week prepared by one of those bastions of green and sustainable living. I think it was BP or Shell. And they were rolling out electrical charging points all over the UK. It may be that an inquiry to them would help with this particular project.
Yeah.
Just a thought. As bastions of green and sustainable life.
Where do you think, where would you think Avenue's bulk charging points?
Where will we place them? We'll have a look at that. We haven't assessed it, and we'll take advice from the golfers. I know the car park's full quite a lot when I go up there, and I have to get my hiking boots on just to get to the view. So that's another reason why we're thinking maybe not start with 8.
Well, I mean, the only reason obviously a lot of the supermarkets and that have charges now. When I go around the supermarkets, there's always about 3. I'm just wondering, 4.
4 is possibly the first start, but again, that will be once we've done the research, because it's about their economies of scale as well. It's what they want to offer us. It's about whether the electrical infrastructure's there. Might be this is a non-starter before we even go. But this report we just started. It's getting quite difficult to see it now. We need to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only reason I'm thinking of is if you open up the top where the Simon's got his office up the top there. For along there. That's fine, but in the evening that's going to be shut. Yeah. And you need lights all the time on them, because you'll get idiots up there when it's pitch black doing silly things. Or you can have them down the front where there's lights on all, but then you're going to get the people who live there using them all the time.
So location's going to be key.
Yeah.
I think realistically you want them used night and day. Whoever wants to use them, so it needs to be available all the time. Yeah. Because if people that live down that road use them in the night, we're making money while no one's playing golf in the dark. So they go off to work and the golfers use them. So if we want to use them to make money, it's cool.
And again, that might be a case of just some polite signage. Non-golfers are welcome to use the car between the hours of whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of education can do a lot. Councillor Buchanan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On this green issue and charging of electric vehicles, the plugins, you charge those.
Yeah.
You charge them overnight on cheap rate?
Yes.
You do.
And they're just a 3-pin plug, so they just charge. They're a 3-pin plug. So they just charge. But yeah, they're put away at the end of the day, charged overnight and then brought out in the morning.
So I don't suggest if you weren't charging them at a cheap rate, it might be worth buying some batteries to charge up an overnight rate and charge your
I'm not
batteries
sure.
up during the day.
I'm not sure what energy deals they've got as to whether they've got day and night rates.
That will be agreed, Lucy, our
Because that's a big
RFO.
difference between
Yeah.
overnight rate and
Yeah,
daytime.
yeah, our RFO would have agreed that. I mean, the other thing is if we go ahead and get a handy person and we get a van, that'll be electric, so we would want to charge on there as well.
On one of these 8 things, or plugging it into?
No, one of the,
One of the
yeah.
Okay. The other thought is mobility scooters presumably need charging. Is there any, do you get many people going up to the view with mobility scooters?
We do.
If you and they park in the disabled space, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
No, they go into the view or around the back.
Yeah.
So,
I suppose
They
the
park
only,
in the
so where
disabled.
they park, you might have something to
Yeah.
charge them up.
my only consideration is with the electric bikes as well as it's a council public thing. As for the golf now, that is probably down to the view because it was opted to
Yeah.
lease it out. So we don't really want to provide and pay money for
So
someone else to benefit.
they're still the same, so you're right.
Yeah.
Are we at the point where we can perhaps take a vote on this matter? Okay, thank you everyone. So does anyone wish to propose the first motion to note the contents of this report? Councillor Buchanan, can anyone second this? Councillor Bristow, all in favour? Okay, so the second decision, the second motion I will ask if someone to propose is the decision to move forward with at the conceptual level to allow Louise and her successors to investigate this matter and find further information, at which point we can take a decision. Councillor Bristol wishes to propose this motion. Does anyone wish to second? Councillor Ali. All in favour? So that seems to be unanimous. Okay, so we come to our final matter, Seaford Head Golf Club update. Mr. Flood, do you have anything to update us on? We do. It's just to our advantage to know what's going
No,
on.
it's the
with
first
club.
time here, so I didn't bring nothing along. And as we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I was away on holiday, so I didn't actually attend. So we're having another one, so hopefully next time, I won't be able to let you know the next time, because your next meeting I should be in Spain, enjoying myself,
Oh, that's December.
for 3 months, yeah. In my camper van, so I'm sorry. I won't be here then.
Is it worthwhile arranging a deputy?
I do have a deputy. I do get a deputy, so yeah. And also Sean.
Yeah, sure, normally.
Sean will be here.
Okay, so it is
Yeah.
worth a while to actually hear from
Yeah.
the golfers who just hear much of the decision.
Well, no, I mean, I did ask the ladies if they had any queries, and they said no, the only queries they had, but then that's not down to the council no more, is that they don't have no blue towels in the toilets, so they can wipe their hands no more.
The dryers.
Well, I mean, if you got half hour, yeah, you can dry your hands.
Yes, point taken. And that's specifically to the women's toilets, is it?
And the gents.
And the gents.
The ones downstairs. Obviously the ones upstairs are down to the view, I should think, but the ones downstairs I think are still down to the council.
Okay. There are obviously issues around
I think it's
environmental concerns,
yeah.
but what
showers and locker rooms rather than toilets, aren't they?
Yeah. It's it just needs, you know, some. I mean, that's what the ladies seem to worry about, is that they could have some handouts and then they've got a big society. They have a big do every year, and it's well supported. I think that was stopped at 50 ladies coming from all over Sussex, everywhere, and they have a big do. So she's buying her own towels to put in there.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it'd be nice if they had the blue towel. I mean, the machines are in there. You don't have to put a machine in there. The machine's in there. So all you got to do is put the blue towels, paper towel.
Is it worth having a look into that? I can understand there are reasons why you might want to have them removed, but can you just at least find the information on?
I've got a contract meeting, I think it's next week, might be this week actually, next week, and I can actually look around and look.
So the other thing, of course, is having used hand dryers in various places, some are good, some aren't. You just want to get the very good ones, and you're done.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can put your hands in there and put down there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And you know, 5-10 seconds.
They're done.
You know
But the
what
ones
that-
we got, you can stay in there for at least 10 minutes.
And that would help not have paper in there.
Councillor Bristow.
Energy efficient, which would be
Yes.
fantastic. So let's see how far we do that.
That's fine.
Okay, as far as I'm aware, this concludes the business of the committee. So I thank you all for your time, your concern and your attention, and that goes to officers and Simon as well as councillors, and thank you for your attendance. So I call this meeting to a close.